Again, just a word to the wise. I've been teaching a long time, and what I notice a lot of students, what they do is they fail to do what they need to do, which is work problem after problem after problem. And I would recommend you start with problem number one, go to problem number two. What I notice some students, they just don't have the time for that. And so what they do is they go to the very last problem in the problem set, they look at it and they realize, oh, gee, this looks interesting, and they try to solve it, and they give it about 2 or 3 minutes and they give up. They say, I can't do that, all right? And they get to the exam and they can't do the exam either, all right? Now, that's really just poor preparation, right? I would not go to problem number 30. I would do problem number 1, number 2, number 3, and I'll try to build my strength up to get to problem number 30. Number 30 is a more difficult problem. And as I go through it, I'm looking at the key now. This is my key. And I want to read it to you. It says, 2 men are employed to do a certain piece of work. The first receives $48, and the second, who works 6 days less, receives $27. So it's time for me to start to abstract. So I'm going to say over here that I don't know their daily rates. So I'm going to say X represents the daily rate of the first man, and Y represents the daily rate of the second man. And this is in dollars, of course. And then I'm going to go on and say that the number of days the first man work is Z. So I want to make sure that you understand, you may choose different letters, but these are the meanings of my letters. So X represents the first man's daily rate, Y is the second man's daily rate, and Z is the number of days the first man works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read it now. 2 men are employed to do a certain piece of work. I got that. The first receives $48. Well, the first one's daily rate is X, and he works for Z days. He would receive $48. Right. The second guy works 6 days less. So that means he works for Z minus 6. And what's his daily rate? His daily rate is Y. How much does he make? $27. I'm going to outline in the notes where this is. Right here and right here. All right? We're going to use those guys later, but let's keep reading it. If the second had worked all the time, well, that means the second worked all the time. Whoops, sorry about that. So second works all the time. That means works for Z days. Just like the other guy, all the time. What's his daily rate? Y. This is the second guy. If the second guy had worked all the time, go back and read that. The second had worked all the time, and the first 6 days less. Well, if the first worked 6 days less, that would have been Z minus 6. What's his daily rate? X. What did they claim, though? If that were true, right? I'll read that again to you. If the second had worked all the time, and the first 6 days less, they would have received equal amounts. So now what they're saying is, they're saying YZ is equal to X, Z minus 6. They're saying they're equal. Let me show you where that is. All right? So we have 3 equations, 3 unknowns. Our job now is to try to figure out what the X, Y, and the Z, without even thinking about what they mean at this point. I'm solving a system of equations. Let's take a look. And as I do that, I'm going to simplify. And let's do one thing at a time. I'm going to take this second equation and solve for Y. And you would get 27 over, let's see, Z minus 6 would equal Y. I'm going to take this equation and solve for Z. And you would get 48 over X equals Z. I'm going to take this, pop it in there, and you're going to get 27, 48 this is z, right, over x minus 6. I can multiply top and bottom by x. You get 27x over 48 minus 6x. All right? So if someone said, what's z? I'd say it's 48 over x. If someone said what y is, I'd say it's 27x over 48 minus 6x. Let me emphasize what I'm saying over here. Z in terms of x is this. Y in terms of x is this over here. So what I'm going to do is take that third equation. I'm going to try to get rid of the multiple variables in it. I'm going to go to x, though. And what would you get? X, we go into this equation now, times, well, what's z? It's 48 over x minus 6 equals, what's y? Well, I got that right over here. So it's 27x, 48 minus 6x times the z, which is 48 over x. All right, I'm going to point out where this is. That's right over here. This is an equation and one unknown. I'm going to go to the whiteboard to do it, though. All right? So this is going to disappear. We'll go to the whiteboard, and I'll just simply recopy. That's not the whiteboard. There's the whiteboard. And I'm just going to write down what I'm seeing. All right? I could get my notes out again to look at the equation I got. Yeah, let me write that down for you. So x, and then it's 48 over x minus 6 equals 27x over 48 minus 6x times 48 over x. And I think I can handle it. So on the left side, it's really simple. What do you get? 48 minus 6x. The right side, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to divide through by 3. And the reason why, because it makes it easier for me. 9x, 16 minus 2x times 48 over x. I also notice that, provided x is not 0, they cancel off. So let me get my little eraser out. I'm going to erase this over here. What else do I notice making this a little bit simpler for me? I notice it's divisible by 2. So I'm going to kind of do that. Maybe I shouldn't erase it. Let's put this over here. 48 minus 6x. This is going to be 9. I'm dividing top and bottom by 2. So 8 minus x. And this would be 24 over 1. And I still want to, do things that I think are simple. I'm going to divide both sides by 6. All right, by 6. Just to make it easier for me. Well, that would be 8 minus x. Now, if I'm dividing by 6, I'm going to divide the 9 by 3 and the 24 by 2. Again, I'm dividing by 6. That's like dividing by a 2 and a 3. So 3 goes into 9 3 times, 2 into 24 12 times. And you get 8 minus x here. Right? What do I get over here? 8 minus x squared equals 36. Pretty strange looking, right? Let's write this down. 8 minus x equals plus or minus the square root of 36, which is 6. Whoops, I did something I should not have done. Although true, I should not have done it. Whoops. 8 minus x equals plus or minus the square root of 36, which is 6. So that would be 8 plus or minus 6 is equal to x. X would equal, let's see, 8 plus 6, 14, or the x would be, let's see, 2. All right? Now, someone says, I can't remember the question. And the question is, I got to look at it. and someone says, what do you mean you have to look at it? I don't remember what X is. I go back and read it. X is the first man's daily rate. So $2 a day here. And what would this be over here? $14 a day. Okay? Let's take a look. I got two numbers. I'm going to keep looking back over the old material that I'm looking at. And I want to point out, I'm looking at 48 equals X times Z. All right? Well, let's see what we get there. 48, this is one of the equations I've written down, by the way. Let's say it was 14. So I'm going to say, we'll tell you what Z is in a second. But X is 14, right? Times Z. Well, that would be 48 over 14 equals Z. And let's take a look at that. What would you get over there? Let's see. 24 sevenths is Z. What was Z again? Let's take a look here. Z was the number of days the first man worked. So days work. Well, 27, that would be what? That would be 3 and 3/7 days. All right? Let's say it were $2 a day, though. And what would that be? 48, 2 times Z, that would be 24 days. All right, I'm going to keep going through it. And next thing I want to do is I want to talk about what Y is and see if it makes any sense at all. What's Y? Well, Y was equal to 27 over Z minus 6. And what did Y stand for? It's the second man's daily rate. Well, this is where things get a little bit creepy, right? So what I'm going to claim over here is that, this one over here is what Z is. And I got to be honest with you, if that's true, this one makes no sense at all. And the reason being is you'd get a negative number. And you can't get a negative number for Z because Z is the number of days, all right? I'm sorry, Y is the number of second man's daily rate. You couldn't get a negative number for that. So I'm going to say this is the only one that makes sense, but I still haven't answered the question yet. So let's take a look at that. It's Y equals 27. 24 minus 6 is 18. And what would that be? Let's see if I did that right. 24, 18. Let's see, 3, right? 9, 3, 2, 1.5. So Y is 1.5. And what does Y stand for? The second man's daily rate. So this is the first man. The second man was $1.50 per day. We'll look at the key later, by the way. And he worked for how many days? Well, 6 days less, which means he worked for 18 days. Let me get my red pen out, and we'll look at it. It says the first man's daily rate is $2 a day, and he worked for 24 days. I see that clearly. The second man's rate's $1.50 a day, and he worked for 18 days. We're doing fine. Thank you.